On an egg farm in the Yorkshire countryside, a group of chickens live in an environment reminiscent of a prisoner of war camp. The farm is run by the cruel Mrs. Tweedy and her submissive husband, Mr. Tweedy, who kill and eat any chicken that is no longer capable of laying eggs. Led by the rebellious Ginger, the chickens constantly devise new ways to try to escape, but are always captured. Mr. Tweedy suspects the chickens are organizing a resistance, but his wife dismisses his theories as she becomes frustrated with the farm's small profits. One night, Ginger witnesses an American rooster named Rocky Road soar over the fences and fall. The chickens put his wing in a splint and hide him from the Tweedies, who have been promised a generous reward if they find and return the rooster to the circus he escaped from. Inspired by Rocky's apparent flying abilities, Ginger begs him to help teach her and the other chickens to fly so they can escape. Rocky teaches flying and training classes. At the same time, a shipment of equipment arrives at the farm, including parts for a chicken pie-making machine that Mrs. Tweedy bought as part of her plan to turn the farm into a profitable pie factory. When the Tweedies increase the chickens' food ration and ignore falling egg production, Ginger deduces that the couple's new plan is to fatten up the chickens for slaughter. After an argument between Ginger and Rocky, Rocky organizes a morale-boosting party, revealing that his wing is healed. Ginger insists that he demonstrate his flight the next day, but Mr. Tweedy finishes assembling the machine and puts Ginger in it for a test run. Rocky saves Ginger and sabotages the machine, buying time to warn the chickens and plan an escape from the farm. The next day, Ginger discovers that Rocky has left, leaving behind part of a poster that shows that, in fact, his job at the circus was to be part of a chicken cannon act and that he cannot fly at all. Devastated, Ginger is inspired by the elderly Fowler's accounts of his time in the Royal Air Force and decides to build an airship to escape the farm. The chickens have collected parts for the plane, using a lounger as a takeoff ramp and a string of Christmas lights to illuminate the runway, while Mr. Tweedy fixes the pie machine. Mrs. Tweedy orders her husband to gather all the chickens for the machine, but they immobilize him and finish the plane, convincing Fowler to fly it. Meanwhile, Rocky finds a billboard advertising Mrs. Tweedy's chicken pies and returns to the farm feeling guilty about abandoning the chickens. Mr. Tweedy knocks down the lounger that would serve as a takeoff ramp, but is soon knocked out. As Ginger tries to help the plane take off, she is attacked by Mrs. Tweedy. Mrs. Tweedy, however, is hindered by Rocky, who leaves with Ginger grabbing the lights, which were caught by the plane on departure. Mrs. Tweedy climbs the lights with an axe. She swings the axe at Ginger, but Ginger dodges, and the axe cuts the line, sending Mrs. Tweedy flying through the barn window and into the pie machine's safety valve. This causes an explosion that spreads sauce everywhere. Mr. Tweedy, once again, tells her that the chickens were organized and, tired of his wife's aggressive behavior, pushes the barn door on her. The chickens celebrate their victory after defeating the Tweedies, while Ginger and Rocky kiss and fly to a bird sanctuary island, where they make their new home. Sometime later, the chickens have settled into their new home, and Rocky and Ginger found a romantic relationship. And that is how the story ends.